What is happening to America's oil industry? Because it looks like our government is hurting it on purpose. And spoilers, yeah, they are. They're pushing for this to happen. Not to crash the American oil industry, but to crash somebody else's. Russia's. If you just look at the price of oil over the past few months, it has been dropping ridiculously. It's trading at $63 a barrel. That is dirt cheap. Remember, America is a fairly capitalist country. We only do things if it's profitable. Well, it's not profitable to keep producing as much oil as we've been. But look, we're still at record levels of 13.58 million barrels a day. That's 2 million more barrels a day than Russia or Saudi Arabia has ever put out in a day. So oil companies have been eliminating thousands of jobs. ConocoPhillips of Houston is cutting their workforce by 25%. And Chevron, the second largest U.S. oil company, is going to lay off up to 20% of its workforce. Quoting from the same article, even though the American oil and gas industry has been shrinking, even as it has pushed production to record highs. Now, the two largest contributors to the previous drop in oil prices has been all of the global economic uncertainty, so a lot of the big money isn't really willing to invest and develop, so manufacturing isn't going to start contracting huge purchases of oil. The second is OPEC Plus has been unwinding their production cuts, so now there are at least 1.5 to 2 million more barrels a day being put out into the market. Actually, it's 2.5 million since April of this year, 2025. Now, pay attention to that period of time, April of 2025. If you look at this chart, that is actually when production dropped a little bit and then went right back up. What business sense does it make for America to keep pumping that oil? It doesn't. Now, if you've been watching my posts for a while, you understand that these dirt cheap oil prices from OPEC and America constantly pumping is crushing Russia's ability to just fund their economy and the war that they're waging in Ukraine, but I believe it's something deeper. But this is also allowing all the major oil importing nations like China, India, of course the United States, to stock up on their inventories and have a lot of reserves just in case something bad is happening, and I believe that's being planned. It's almost as if the oil producers in the know are preparing for a huge oil supply shock, like let's say their top third oil exporter, Russia, starts losing their ability to export all this oil. And the icing on the cake for America would be if they actually manage to overthrow Maduro and replace him with who they recognize, Urrutia or maybe even Machado. That would completely crush most of Russia and some of China's plans for gaining influence in the rest of the South American continent. And of course, it would give America an even larger monopoly on the world's oil reserves. But it would also give America far too much power in the oil market, because whenever they would want to crash the price of oil, they could by just releasing Venezuelan oil into the market. And of course, it would account for any unforeseen shortages in the market that would skyrocket the price of oil. But again, that's the icing on the cake. I don't know how realistic it is to expect Venezuela to fall under this president's administration. But even if it doesn't, it looks like the cards are stacked against Russia, and our government doesn't mind harming our own oil industry to do it. And for those of you who want to troll and say, no, our president is totally bought and paid for by Putin, he's going to do whatever Putin tells him to do. You don't think that this guy would screw over Putin at the drop of a hat? You must not remember Roy Cohn, the guy who pretty much built Trump to be what he is. Cohn started mentoring Trump in 1973, and even in the early 1980s, Trump was under Cohn's thumb until he no longer needed him. He outgrew Cohn in power and influence, and then by the time Cohn died in 1986, Trump left him just this lifeless husk, totally betrayed and bereft of any real friends. And if you guys don't think our president would do that to Putin and then take credit for bringing down Russia's evil regime, then you're crazy. I am the Geo Husar, and instead of saying Guaido yesterday, I should have said Urrutia or Machado. Thanks for watching.